Hello, my name is Luby, and welcome back to Katawa Shoujo. Last time I kind of left you on a cliffhanger, but let's continue it. I'm pretty sure this is about the last thing I had in mind when Lily said she'd decide where to have our date. No man or woman is dressed in anything but their finest, their formality only matched by that of their surroundings. Rich red wallpaper adorns the walls as the city lights far below flicker and glow. Alright, so we're at a fancy place for Lily's date. Cool. Combined with the ambient hum of quiet speech and the high-pitched clattering of cutlery and wine glasses, the mood is very formal, yet relaxed enough for me not to feel too uptight, despite this being our first real date. Also, there's new music in the background. Neat. Once we get seated, our waiter leaves to attend to others with a quick bow after an appreciative nod from Lily. Far from depending on my help, Lily's managed to navigate herself around surprisingly easily so far, despite the unfamiliar environment. A light brush here and there, and she's generally quite deft at orienting herself as needed. Oh! Oh! Oh, that is, goddamn, that is, oh my god, this is, this is super cute, oh my god. Okay. My eyes look to Lily's. I can tell from her face that she's listening to her surroundings just as hard as I'm looking. Though, truth be told, my eyes are lingering on her each time they sweep across the room. The red, cheongsam she's wearing accentuates her figure very well and shows off her legs. Even her hair is done up and the scent of perfume is just noticeable. While my black suit may be a rental, I managed to select an appropriate one. It feels surprisingly comfortable considering I've so rarely worn one and fits the sitting just as well as Lily's attire. I guess this is a new experience for both of us then. She turns somewhat sheepish. Oh my god! Lily is goddamn adorable. I've never come to a place such as this before, no. One hell of a first date, that's for sure. It's gonna be pretty hard for me to top this. A small giggle. Even now our nervousness is dissipating. Her hand skates along the center of the table until it touches the menu, which she takes in both hands and brings to her face. Hisao? As she lowers the beige, laminated sheet just below her eyes, I can see another sheepish look. I doubt asking the waiter for a menu in Braille would be productive. I can read it out for you, no problem. I take mine and give it a quick read, my small grin faltering. Perhaps there is... What's wrong? There are quite a few items on here, and I'm not completely sure how to pronounce a couple of them. One fine cuisine after another is listed. Most may be in Japanese, but a few are in English and French. I guess it's to be expected, but I have no idea what's in some of these. Oh, this one I recognize. Wait, hang on. You can cook that? A small giggle of amusement comes from behind the paper sheet. Well, I could read them all out, but it'd take a few hours. Is there anything with some kind of fish in it? Let's see. No. Aren't those poisonous? No. They eat that stuff? No. Here we go. A tuna salad seems to be a good bet. From the picture, it looks like it'd be pretty filling as well. That seems to be a reasonably safe option. Let's order two then. I'm pretty sure a couple of these dishes are from poisonous animals. I've had enough deadly run-ins for now. Lily maintains a smile, but there's a distinct lack of laughter. Black humor mustn't be her cup of tea, though to be honest, I don't find it exceedingly funny either. Oh my god, she has new sprites and everything. This is so, this is so fucking cool. There are certainly quite a few interesting smells wafting about. The same is true of the sights, I assume. I've never been anywhere quite like this. A fancy Japanese tea house on an occasion or two, but never anything this lavish nor European styling. Before another word can be said, a portly waiter in distressingly tight vests appears at our table to take our orders. Okay, look, Hisao, I relate to you right now because I don't know how to pronounce this. Uh, Provençal Tuna Salad Nicois, please. 2. I butchered that so hard. I hope I didn't mess up the pronunciation of that too badly. Even if I did, he doesn't show it. And may I have a glass of Chardonnay, please? Hisao? Oh, the same. As the waiter nods and leaves, I suddenly realize what I said by absent-mindedly mimicking Lily's answer. I regret it pretty quickly. Alcohol. Only a bit. This girl has an odd propensity to getting hooked on things, I swear. Surprising that they didn't ask for identification. Yeah, I was about to say that. Aren't we like 18? Then again, I guess we both do look mature for our age. I don't know what the drinking age in Japan is, though, so that's also something. I'll have to take your word for it. I'll add that this isn't what I'd call the type of place to ask such things, though. Good point. We both relax a little into our seats, trying to take our minds off the choking formality of the surroundings. As soon as we do, the same waiter reappears at our table with 2 empty glasses and a bottle, the contents of which are quickly and professionally poured into the former. We both nod politely as he leaves, Lily taking her glass and gently moving it from side to side. The liquid inside glistens as it moves around in the glass, and I have to admit it makes me a little less regretful for ordering the same. I guess it must take effort to judge how the liquid inside is acting based only on its center of balance. Maybe it's like her origami, taking every little chance to practice her dexterity. I guess I'm not surprised that you know about a place like this. Those who have money would, I suppose. This reminds me of just how completely different our upbringings were. In Yamaku, it's easy to forget about social and economic disparity between students all wearing the same uniforms and living in the same dormitories. Well, Akira was the one to tell me of it. She's come here before, apparently. So that's what they were conspiring about on Friday. And you chastised me for cheating? What does that mean? You chastised me for cheating? Well, oh, like asking Lily, where she wanted to go. That's not cheating. It's simply making use of personal contacts. If you say so. Still, I get the feeling that you're more familiar with this kind of restaurant than I am. She pauses a moment, a wistful look in her face, before softly smiling. The compliment seems to brighten her mood. You can thank my former school for that. If I were to appear any less, they'd be gravely disappointed. She has mentioned her previous schooling before, but now I'm kind of curious. She seems to think a lot about her past, so I don't see any problem in asking. What was that like? It was prestigious, all girls and Catholic. These facts made my parents choose it for me. Many wealthy families sent their daughters there. From how it sounds, life there must have been pretty strict. I wouldn't say it was a bad experience, but you're quite right, it was very strict. Thankfully, I managed to adapt well enough and make a new number of friends. Unfortunately, the same can't be said for my sister. She found the atmosphere and religious aspects suffocating, and ended up leaving for a job as soon as she was able to. She gives a small self-deprecating chuckle. I shouldn't complain about it though. Not many even have the chance to go to such a school. Do you resent your parents for sending you there, then leaving? She gently shakes her head. My family is highly patriarchal. My father, business always on his mind, was entirely lost as to what to do with me. In the end, he made the decision that my education was of higher priority than staying with the family. He simply did what he thought was best. To say such things so easily, what an unbelievable girl. That said, I'm a little surprised she doesn't think her blindness played any part at all, though maybe I'm being too harsh on her family. You're too kind-hearted, you know that? Most would hate their parents or something like that. Well, some do. Oblivious to my raised eyebrow, she takes a sip from her glass. The wine slips down effortlessly, her fondness for it evidently helping her deal with the flavor of the alcohol. I can't say the same goes for me. What of yourself? What was your schooling like? Mine? Let's see. It was a fairly normal public school, I suppose. Maybe a bit busier than the norm. I did quite well in class and played in the soccer club. Since I am an only child and my parents both worked a lot, I wasted most of my free time and money at the arcade with my 3 friends. No matter how much I played, though, I never did manage to beat Mai at any of those machines. Even Takumi and Shin lost her whenever they tried. Then I'd be left trying to be the responsible adult when Shin and Mai fought. Again. Just the four of us, aimlessly enjoying our childhood. Those were some pretty silly times. I catch myself as I realize that I'm starting to zone out, the days of my old school disappearing to the night sky and bright city lights outside the window. Lily's face is an odd mixture of curiosity and sympathy. Given her strict schooling, I suppose something like this would have seemed an interesting contrast to the only life she's known. It sounds like your previous school was a lot of fun. I'm not really sure how much of it is nostalgia, but there are some nice memories. That's in the past, though. I can't go back there now, but through my incident, I found a new life I'd never have imagined leading. The peace and calm of Yamaku, a new direction for my future in science, the friendship of Shizune, Misha, and Hanako, and most of all, you. She gives a deep, genuine smile as she moves her hands towards me, her fingers just lightly searching on my face before softly caressing my cheek. Her hand reluctantly retreats after a second of warm silence as we notice the waiter arriving with our meals. Lily does a deft job of covering her condition, except for the fact that her nod to him is slightly misaligned due to his silence. She really seems to work hard at appearing as normal as possible in public. While I noticed it long ago, I still can't quite gauge whether it's a want to not be treated differently, a slight sense of vanity, or some mixture of both. The dish served lives up to the salad name, and the portion's pleasantly large. With the sliced eggs and tomato, it looks very enticing indeed. It's a good thing it's a large dish. Most fancy restaurants, they have like small dishes that cost way too much, you know? Lily takes her knife in one hand and fork in the other, quickly getting to work on the dishes I do. It's later than we usually have dinner, so we're both eager to dig in. Oh my god! You know, Lily is way too fucking adorable, man. Oh, my cautious skewering of leaves and vaguely meat-like squares in my fork is matched by Lily's silent and measured prodding and chewing. An occasional tap around the sides of a piece of the food to work out its edges is the only giveaway to her lack of sight. I'm done with my meal in little time, Lily taking the last few bites as I sit observing her. Finished, Hisao. Yeah, it was pretty nice. That much is very true. I never thought a simple salad could be so tasty and filling, but then again, I suppose that's why it costs so much to eat here. Content with my appraisal and evidently agreeing, Lily gives a small nod. You know, given that you're part foreign, exotic looking, and quite pretty, I'm surprised that nobody's ever confessed to you before. You're assuming nobody did. This simple statement takes me off guard. I shouldn't be surprised, given that I was complimenting her just moments before. Really? I've received several confessions, both in this school and my previous one. Adolescence is a funny time. She's kinda talking as if she's above it herself. Huh. How easily you say such a thing. Lily looks surprised for a moment before a playful smirk covers her face. Is that jealousy? What? No, it isn't. You're a bad liar, Hisao. You should take that into account. Then again, I do appreciate how sincere you are, even if you don't intend to be sometimes. I think your honesty will always serve you well when dealing with others. I clear my throat in mock disapproval of this whole business and try to steer the conversation elsewhere. To tell the truth, though, I do prefer solitude to being surrounded by others. I don't think I could maintain a social circle like you do. She contemplates this for a moment. I don't think that's true either. I've seen how gentle and caring you are around Hanako, and you get on marvelously well with others. Oh, even those whom you hardly know. I think you're quite adept at social situations. But on that note, what of your confessions, Hisao? I'm sure someone like you must have had at least one admirer. As I open my mouth to speak, I can feel my face turn slightly dour. At times like this, I secretly appreciate the fact that she can't see my expressions. Lily, this may come as a shock to you, but we men do not get confessed to that much. Sadly. Just one. Her name was Iwanako. I mean, yeah, Hisao did have that. It was when she confessed to me that I had my heart attack there in the woods during winter. Lily finds herself speechless, not expecting for the topic to move into such an area. My condition has always been something of a concern for her, that's saying it lightly, something that I strive to minimize despite my body's best efforts to the contrary. Afterwards, she visited me for a while when I was in the hospital. For weeks, she came in and talked. It was usually just small talk or classroom gossip, but that was enough. But eventually, she just stopped coming. She was there every day, then every other day, then once a week. Then finally, one day, she just stopped visiting entirely. Did you ever see her again? Wrapped in my own little world, I shake my head before remembering the futility of the gesture. Um, I mean, it's really killing the mood to bring up the letter right now, but at the same time, I don't really want to hide anything from her, you know? Because if I don't mention the letter now, when will I mention it, you know? I don't feel like I should, hide anything from her, you know? The memory of that single letter Iwanako sent me comes back to my mind. I never saw her again, but after I was sent to Yamaku, she wrote me one letter. Lily's face shows an expression I know well. I piqued her interest. I'd be slightly offended that it's simply a matter of curiosity for her, but she's never been very good at masking her reactions. In hindsight, it really didn't say much. What was going on in my old class, how she was faring, and almost as an afterthought, that it was probably best for the both of us that we don't see each other again. After reading it, I ended up reassessing a lot of things I thought I'd managed to work out. For the most part, that letter reminded me that the world around me was still moving and just how much I'd become isolated from it. And I guess it also reminded me of what I'd lost. She gives the information some thought before her face lights up in realization. No doubt she's worked out that it was this letter which had contributed to my angst during that lunch on the rooftop. It's a rare sight to see Lily quite so lost for words. Her entire persona is a little deflated from her earlier rapt interest. As charismatic as she is, in the end that isn't any replacement for life nor relationship experience. Perhaps it is better she sent it than not. How's that? It can be difficult to work out how best to communicate with those you haven't met in a long time. All the more so considering your separate situations. Instead of doing what was easiest, she built up the courage to talk to you one last time, not only for her sake, but, from how it sounds, for yours as well. Maybe. I don't hate her for it, not that I really ever did, but I don't know. Probably a more non-committal answer than I should give, but it isn't without cause. I've never looked at the situation from Iwanako's perspective like that before. Seconds pass in silence before Lily speaks again. Moving to Yamaku must have been hard for you, having your friends and even your girlfriend taken from you for no fault of your own. The worst of it passed while I was in the hospital. When all that surrounds you is four white walls and a small television, your mind takes on a life of its own. It's like my old school, I guess. I just try not to dwell on what's happened and keep thinking ahead. All that reminiscing does is get me down, and it's largely thanks to you that it feels like things are finally getting back on track. That's pleasing to hear, Hisao. She lowers her face slightly, her expression pensive. I guess I went too far and embarrassed her. I suppose you went through something a bit like what I did when you entered Yamaku anyway, right? I imagine the vast majority of our school's students did, after all. You said yourself that you made friends in your old school. I can't imagine many followed you. Lily's deep smile drops, her expression unexpectedly darkening. Even her hands retreat to her lap. After a long while, she speaks. Hisao, can you promise not to tell anyone else what I'm about to? I promise. She looks slightly taken aback by my serious tone, but then relents and smiles weakly before continuing. When I moved to Yamaku, I did regret losing the friends I had at my other school. But there was one person whom I most regretted not seeing again. He was the reason I took up English as a future career. He? Considering she came from an all-girls school, that can't have been a schoolmate then. Probably a teacher. I rejected the confessions I'd received until then for him. Every time I improved my English skills, his praise was my most treasured reward. Whoa. Back it up. Back it up here, Lily. If what I'm thinking is that this guy was a teacher, then, let's just keep reading. It's funny, isn't it? Someone like me, able to boast about the people who've set eyes on me, liking someone so utterly unattainable as my tutor. It truly is the most ridiculous thing. Did you... She quickly shakes her head from side to side. I couldn't. Even then, I knew it was impossible. A silence reigns over both of us. This does seem to explain her ardent focus on her future in teaching English, but I can't help thinking of her confession to me. She lost him without ever letting her feelings be known. Did she somehow fear that would happen again, but with me? Okay, hold on, let me, Okay, yeah, that hits a little close to home. Yeah. I don't really know what to make of it. I've heard of such relationships before. Taboos born of such things as puberty and youth. The fact that she had the good judgment not to act on it, though, is heartening. I know this must sound strange, but please, don't think of me. Why would I think of any less of you for that? To be honest, I think you must have been a very nice person if you liked him so much. Not only that, but you stopped yourself before going too far. For a moment, she looked somewhat lost. Most unexpectedly, though, it isn't a second before she starts to laugh. The sound takes me off guard. It's not a giggle nor a restrained chuckle, but honest and genuine laughter. I find myself smiling, and not just at her display of relief and happiness, but for her to trust me enough to let me see this most private of secrets. Before I realize it, I feel her palm touching my face. Her touch is as gentle as ever, with her thumb slowly stroking my cheek. You're kind, Hisao. I really do love you. Seeing her face like this, with her palm gently caressing my face, I think tonight has been a wonderful night. I guess we both had pretty weird pasts, eh? I think by most standards, our present is rather odd as well. By the way, I just want to elaborate. Back then when I said, hold up, you know, she didn't take it too far and she knew to stop, that's at least heartening, and plus it happened in the past, and, well, I know from experience that teenagers are dumb. I smile and hang my head. This woman can easily run rings around me, of that I'm quite sure. I look back around the room with its continuing quiet hum of patrons. This place probably fits into the odd category too. It is a tad overbearing. That's one word for it, yes. I catch the eye of a scurrying waiter, a short, scrawny guy no older than 20. He kinda reminds me of Kenji, though, unlike him, the waiter isn't dressed for winter during midsummer. After a curt bow and an offer to remove our plates, Lily asks for the bill politely and softly. With expert coordination, he maneuvers around the tables, our plates in hand, to retrieve our bill. In no time, he reappears at the doors, smartly handing our bill to Lily, who promptly hands it to me, causing him to raise an eyebrow. As I read the small computer-printed leaflet, the cost is considerably more than I expected. Hisao? Oh, I quickly stammer out the amount, to which Lily merely nods and reaches for her purse. Giving her card to the waiter, he disappears once again. That was a disproportionately large amount of money. The statement seems to make Lily slightly uncomfortable. My family leaves me more than enough of my education. The same goes for my sister, though she dislikes being reminded of that fact. That said, I too dislike throwing money about, but this one time I think I can make an exception, just for you. Gotta agree with you there, Lily. I mean, I do spend money on, like, stupid stuff every now and then, on a figure or on a video game. But, usually I like to keep money, but if I'm going out if I'm going out somewhere with, like, a friend or something, let them get whatever they want, honestly. Because, I don't know, there's something different about, like, because when you keep money for yourself, that's obviously, for future stuff to help you out later, but, I don't know, when you go out with somebody and you just, like, buy something for them, it's a different feeling, it's a really nice feeling. Not only did you choose our date, but you paid for both of us as well. Yeah, also just saying, just going out with a friend and buying something for them, like food or something, is a pretty swell feeling, but God, I can't imagine, buying something for like a girlfriend or a boyfriend. That'd just be like over the charts levels of nice, a very, very nice feeling. I take the bridge of my nose in my fingers. I can't believe how high you set the bar for our next date. She gives a small giggle. I'll be looking forward to it, Hisao. The waiter appears beside us as if by magic and hands Lily's card back to her. Evidently picking up on her lack of sight, he places the card in her hand with an extra, perhaps unneeded, amount of firmness to make sure of her grip. Leaving, he exercises a measure of diplomacy by keeping a neutral face despite my own expression. Clapping my hands together, I stand up from my seat in order to bring an end to our night out. Shall I be off then, milady? I'm not gonna lie, that's probably my favorite part of the entire game so far. That was just wonderful. Honestly, that was amazing. I loved that part so much. And it got me to understand Lily a little bit more. Got me to like her a lot more. She definitely seems a lot more relatable to me in one way. So, yeah, let's just keep going. That was one of my favorite parts of the game right there. That was incredible. And again, I have to remind you, this game is free. This game is very much free, and you can go play it for yourself right now. It's really good. Yeah, I snap upwards out of my sheets and sit bolt upright in bed as if an electric shock had just run through my entire body. The night air feels cold against the sweat on my bare skin, my breathing short and rugged, nearly to the point of hyperventilation. Mind racing, I bring my hand to my head in an attempt to soothe my body's panic state. It takes me a number of seconds to realize my hand is shaking violently, even as I press it against my face. More seconds pass in complete silence, my desperate attempts to subdue my body and mind slowly, thankfully working. Did you forget to take your meds again, Sal? Gathering myself, I start taking measure of the state I'm in. It feels like I've run a marathon, every muscle feeling tense and sweat practically pouring off me. I carefully direct my attention to the beating of my chest, measuring out the rhythm in my head. Sure enough, my unreliable heart is functioning properly for once. Just what the hell was that? A heart attack? A bad nightmare? Medicine side effects? I've heard about panic attacks, and this does seem to have the hallmarks of one. I can't even be bothered thinking about it right now. I feel utterly exhausted yet completely awake after this experience. I look over to the other side of my bed, the pale white of the silent figure's face almost glowing in the nighttime darkness of the room. Just the sight of her is enough to calm me down significantly. Oh my god. That is that is absolutely, oh my god. This is it's so it's so cute. It's it's so cute. It's adorable. It's so nice. It's just oh just trying to I'm just recoiling from the sheer amount of cuteness. Dude, it's just I don't know. This game has something about it. It's not as it really fleshes out its characters well. The romance in this game is so well done. Her graceful demeanor persists even while she's asleep, her perfectly measured breathing and gentle face making it impossible to tell whether she's awake or truly sleeping. Giving in to temptation, I delicately run my fingertips over her hand. Her skin is soft to the touch, as it always has been, yet warm even in the cold night. It's at times like this, silently appreciating each other's presence, that I feel we're closest. My fingers stop at her wrist, and I bring my hand back down to the bed beside me. I'm not entirely sure why, but as we became ever closer to each other, it felt as if something grew between us. I'm not entirely sure what it is, nor whether it existed before we'd fallen in love. Everything is moving so fast. I don't mind it at all, but it feels unlike Lily to be pushing things this much. Thankfully, there aren't any students milling around in the hallways at this hour of the morning, lest I be interrogated on why I'm carrying 2 plates of breakfast to my room while I'm dressed in an obviously hastily donned uniform. That is to say, things like this never happen, of course. A single security guard patrolling between 2 sets of bedrooms situated right next to each other is a very small force compared to adolescent hormones. Come to think of it, the fact that it's Monday morning probably helps. I'm not really sure why, but Mondays seem to bother me less than they do most others. Good for you. It takes a little creative use of my hands and elbow, but eventually I manage to work the door to my dormitory room open. But don't, in Japan they have wait, is it I know in Japan they only have one day off on the weekends. Is that Sunday or Saturday? Cause I'm thinking, do the Japanese hate Monday as much as Americans do? I have no idea. Stepping inside, I see Lily just getting up in the bed and tiredly rubbing her eyes. She looks a mess, just like most other times I've seen her soon after she wakes. She really isn't a morning person. Sorry, I didn't mean to wake you. She groggily shakes her head. The morning light illuminating her makes for a very pleasant sight. It's okay. I needed to get up anyway. What time is it? I put my plate down on my desk and turned the clock around to check the time. Still early. Don't worry, there's plenty of time left before school. She sits on the side of the bed and begins to sniff the air. As she does so, I quickly move her plate away and put it on the desk beside mine. Yeah, I got us some breakfast. Shower and clothes come first, though. She stands still for a moment with her chin pointed slightly out. I gladly acquiesce and press my lips to hers, savoring the soft feeling before breaking off. With a small, sweet smile, apparently quite satisfied, she slowly makes her way to the showers. I stretch to try and wake myself up a little more, briefly looking at the steaming dishes on the desk. Rice, fish, miso soup, and some vegetables. A standard breakfast for a somewhat unusual day. I grab the bottles from my desk and start taking my daily regimen of pills. Sometimes I wonder what these things are even good for, given all the troubles I've had since the initial accident. I can't even say that it doesn't hurt to take them, considering the side effects so far. Well, whatever. Doctor's orders are that I have to take them, and rationality suggests that I'd be well served to trust his judgment over mine. On that note, you should probably tell the nurse what happened this morning. It doesn't take long for the noise of the shower to cease, a quick one apparently being fine for Lily given the circumstances. Emerging from the bathroom, she looks significantly more awake, having had the chance to collect herself. Without a word, I gently take her hand in mine and guide her to my desk. Considering I don't have a table in my room as she does, it'll have to do. Thank you, Hisao. What did you prepare for breakfast? Just rice and some vegetables, something fast. Her face lights up at the revelation. That's quite a breakfast. This is normal for you. Now she's just being nice. I have little doubt, considering her past, that this isn't exactly a high-class meal by your standards. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Just because we're students doesn't mean we can take it lightly. That's my belief, anyway. From what others I've talked to have said, I might be in the minority. I take a seat on the side of my bed and begin eating together with Lily, her chopsticks lightly tapping out the outlines of the vegetables, just as I noticed her do during our date. This is quite nice, Hisao. I had no idea you could cook this well. This time she's much more genuine, I can tell that much. That said, cooking really isn't anything special at all. After a bit of practice, it's pretty easy to make a simple dish. For example, I can make scrambled eggs. Not like super well, but I can make scrambled eggs. And boiled eggs. Really, I can just make eggs. Most of the credit goes to modern technology. Still, after years of cooking for myself, I should hope so. I got bored of eating instant noodles and ordering pizza every time my parents were both working, so I taught myself how to make a few meals. I'm still trying to get the knack of it, though. You'll make a good wife someday, Sal. I take a grain of rice and place it onto my thumb, before carefully taking aim and giving it a good flick. Lily jumps a little as it hits her cheek, right on target. I can't help chuckling a little at her expense as she lowers her brow and tries her best to assume a harsh and serious expression. Oh, that's right. What is it? Did you have any problems sleeping last night? You seemed restless. So she was awake back then, or at least partly so. Whether it was my heart or a nightmare caused by the side effects of my medicine, the last thing I want is for her to be worrying about me even more. Even before my relationship with Lily, I thought my body was a drag on everything I did. My body is my burden alone, so as long as I'm with her, I'll continue to act as normally as possible. You know, I don't super agree with Hisao's mentality here. Like, I don't know, like, I feel like Lily should worry. She has that right, and, like, I feel like you shouldn't just, like, pushing it away. Like, I'm not saying you should focus on it either, but just, you know, I don't know. I don't feel comfortable with the fact you're just telling her, don't worry, over and over again, you know? I feel like it's a good thing. I don't know. It's weird. It's a complicated thing. No, not particularly. Is that so? That's good then. Like, honestly, right there, Hisao should have told the truth. I don't think there was any reason for him to lie. Luckily, she seems to take me at my word. Come to think of it, there was something else I wanted to ask. Oh? How should I put it? When you dream, do you see people and objects? Yes, of course I... Oh. I feel more than a little sheepish for that slip of the tongue, however earnest it may be. Lily looks unperturbed, though. But you don't taste, feel, nor smell things. I move to answer, but find myself struck before thinking about it. The more I mull it over, the more I realize that her hypothesis is correct. That's true, I guess. I never looked at it that way. Are you saying that you do? For the most part, I only hear in dreams, but yes, sometimes I touch and smell things as well. I'm just asking since Akira thought it very strange that I did when I brought it up with her. If you don't either, then it's maybe due to my blindness. That would make sense. You rely on your other senses more than me, so maybe that affects your dreams as well. The wonders of the human body, I guess. For the rest of the time before school, we quietly eat the hearty breakfast in front of us, exchanging a few small pieces of small talk as we do. Hey, look at that. Rin's mural is going pretty well. A quick peek out of the door assures nobody's looking directly at the entrance of the boys' dormitories, so we walk out with the path clear. Ah, the weather's good today. I stretch as Lily and I make our way outside. The bright morning sun beaming down on us. By now, a few students can be seen doing the same, making their way to the main school building either from the dorms or through the main gate. It does feel nice and warm. Our hands linked and her cane tapping the ground, we begin in earnest our trip to the school building and join the chatting throngs of students around us. This would be the last day of exams, no? Yeah, how are you going in them? Fairly well, all things considered. You seem a bit stressed by them, though. It's that obvious, huh? I don't think it's just the exams, though. A lot of stuff's been happening in a short amount of time, and I'm not doing that well in the humanities subjects. You're doing well in science, though, aren't you? Well, it would be hard not to do well in science for me. Come to think of it, didn't you say that before you weren't very good at science and math? She suddenly looks very sheepish, my remark no doubt hitting home. Lily's sense of pride really can be a double-edged sword. Well, aside from that, have you ever given thought to what you might do with that ability? It seems a pity to waste it. A bit, mostly at Muto's prompting. In any case, I'll probably end up doing science as a career in some form. That's good to hear, Hisao. As we enter the gardens, I suddenly receive an unsolicited pat on the back. The green-dressed culprit dances around to meet me, evidently not paying any heed to Lily at my side. Green, huh? Oh no. Hey, it's been a while, Kenji. How you been?
Hey man, what's up? Haven't seen you in a while.
Hey, I've just been busy lately with the exams and stuff.
Exams, shams. A true Renaissance man needs no study to excel in such things.
Kenji does strike me as the kind of person that does well in school, even if he has a horrid attendance record and poor work ethic, so I have little reason to doubt his ability. To be honest, I'm a little envious of him. Between studying for exams and my time with Lily, I've had practically no time to myself. Maybe this is a bit like how Yuko feels. Good morning, Seto. It's good to hear you're doing well. It feels slightly odd to see Lily speaking so formally. She's come to address me more casually over the months, though I have seen her speak more formally to classmates from time to time as well. Some people never change, I guess. Not that I'd say her calm and polite manner is a bad thing. It was one of the reasons I liked being around her to begin with, after all. Kenji seems to take a moment to work out who it is beside me, and probably hasn't noticed us holding hands either. I wonder if those glasses of his actually do anything.
Oh, hey Lily, good luck in your exams too. I'll see you after school then, man.
The slight edge to his voice makes me think those words are meant to be an imperative rather than a casual farewell. I guess I'll have to smooth things over later. Sure, see ya. Kenji nods curtly. He moves to pass by us, but he's too busy glaring in Lily's general direction to take notice of her cane. Before I can try to react and save the situation, Kenji trips and reflexively reaches out for a handhold. Unfortunately, said handhold turns out to be Lily's arm.
Whoa!
Both fall to the ground in a sprawling heap, with me left feeling rather helpless. Oh, damn, are you two okay? Kenji quickly rises back up, seemingly unfazed by the accident.
No problem, man, no problem. There's nothing my body can take much worse abuse.
Lily lies face down on the grass. She doesn't look hurt by the incident, more startled than anything. I move closer to offer her my help. You alright, Lily?
Hey, Sato!
Kenji offers her a hand, tentatively touching hers to let her know what he's doing. He says some odious things sometimes, but I do think he may be a genuinely good person at heart. I imagine he feels pretty bad about this. To his surprise and mine, though, Lily pounds on the ground with her fist at that warning. Damn it! Kenji freezes, entirely caught by surprise at her outburst. I'm just as shocked. She never acted like this before, not even around Shizune.
Uh,
Seemingly only now remembering that there are people around her, Lily slowly climbs to her feet. Her face, as she does so, makes me retreat a little. I only catch a glimpse of her expression before she turns away, but it's not something I'll forget soon. She showed plenty of annoyance during her classes, during her clashes with Shizune, but this flash of anger was something else. There's no way that this is just about this petty incident. She pauses for a moment before sighing and walking on ahead. I really don't know what to make of this. I'll, talk to you later, dude. See ya.
yeah, see ya.
Kenji scratches the back of his head, trying to find something to say, then shrugs and walks away, giving us a wide berth. I have no idea what just happened there. I guess I'll just keep going. I quickly catch up to Lily. She turns her head a little to acknowledge my presence, but nothing else. I should probably scold her for lashing out like that, but I also don't want to get into a shouting match with her. She's still very obviously annoyed. In the end, I keep my mouth shut and wait for it to cool off. After a quiet walk in, we eventually reach the top of the third floor stairs and the junction where we part every day. I turn to Lily before she leaves. While I do like the comfortable and warm silences we usually share, this was anything but. I don't want to leave things like this. You seem quieter than usual recently. Is anything wrong? She shakes her head almost automatically, as if to dispel any notion that I need to worry about her. It's just the exams taking their toll. I'll be fine. I don't think that's the reason. I very nearly say so, but I decide against it. There's no point trying to draw it out of her if she doesn't want to tell me, especially when she's in a foul mood like this. If you're sure, I'll see you later then. As I turn down the hall to go to my classroom, Lily's soft voice rings out from behind me. Hisao, yeah? I'm sorry. With that, Lily makes off down the hallway to her own classroom, her hands skating along the metal railings. I stand still and watch her until she turns into her classroom and out of sight, before going to my own class with a fair measure of reluctance. I am very worried about that. Yeah, have we seen Lily angry? I mean, we have. Like, when she was fighting with Shizune, she was angry, but I don't, that's it. Yeah, it just feels weird seeing her angry. Like, this is the first time we've seen her angry since Act 1. You know, I'm guessing there's something else going on right now. As usual, I'm early. Muto is fiddling with folders and papers on his desk as he prepares for the day, while a handful of students mill about, chatting away. While my feelings about Lily haven't dissipated, far from it, her mention of my exam performance did remind me that I have my own life's journey to attend to. After thinking about it, I have realized that I do genuinely want to pursue science in some form as a career, rather than it simply being the path of least resistance. Until now, though, I didn't have an idea of where in the field I wanted to go. Just science is a pretty broad category of jobs. If I did have to do like science work, like me personally, I'd have to go into like forensic science. I'm somewhat interested in that. It's very cool. Something Lily mentioned earlier focused my thoughts. Something I'd only idly pondered about before. I'd not seriously considered following this specific path. I walk up to Muto's desks, his attention too focused on preparing for the day's lesson to notice my approach. It's the same every day. Good morning. He looks up with an expression of mild surprise that's quickly replaced by his typical awkward smile. Good morning, Nakai. Can I help you? Do you mind if I ask you something? He looks down at his messy pile of books on the desk before putting down the papers in his hand and standing up with some difficulty to properly address me. That's what I'm here for, after all. Ask away. I was just wondering, what would you say is the motivation behind teaching? He thinks on this question for a few moments before responding, evidently far from having a prepared answer. If you talk to 10 different teachers, I think you'll get 10 different answers to that question. Well, I can only speak for myself. I'd say that I teach because... He sinks into thought again, carefully assessing the way he wishes to present his idea. Think of it this way. When you were a child, you probably played with sticks and pebbles in moving water, such as the gutter or puddles, right? Yeah, I think a lot of people do that when they're young. Well, it's not just when they're young for some, though it does take on another form. My point is, though, that when one is doing that, they're curious about how the water will flow or be changed. Everyone, even at that young age, possesses an intense wonderment about how the world around them works, even in its smallest forms. I still feel that sense of wonderment about the universe. Even just reading about new discoveries or classic experiments gives me a renewed sense of awe at how marvelous everything is, from the farthest stars to the smallest puddle. I just hope that I can give others even a small piece of that wonderment I feel. If I can do that, even if it's just for one person, I think that I can be happy as a teacher. He scratches his head as he mentally reviews what he said. I feel like I understand him better now. Even if he's awkward around others, he does have a genuine want to be around them and offer them a piece of himself that he values. What Lily told me yesterday rings in my ears. I think you get on well with others, huh? She always did say I was unusually curious. Sorry if that was a little meandering. Does it answer your question? It does. Thank you. I also had another question, actually. Oh, what might that be? Sorry. Do you have any college brochures or guides? It's about time I started getting some applications in. He nods and bends down to look inside his desk. As he does so, I notice that he's wearing a remarkably genuine smile. I don't think I've ever really seen him act this natural on others. Perhaps this isn't Muto, the teacher, but rather Muto, the person. Here, if you need any more, feel free to ask. He hands me about half a dozen brochures and booklets of various colors and sizes, which I take eagerly. Yeah, it'll be this information which I'll use to forge my own future. I think now, after all this time and all these trials, I can finally start to see the big picture of my life ahead of me. My body may be like this, but my mind is still very much able. Thank you. Alright, so we've got some... Okay, so in this episode we had the best scenes in the entire game, and also some worrying developments. I don't know why Lily got so angry, but here's hoping we find out, because I am out of time. So we'll have to find out another time. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time, where we'll keep doing this, and hopefully, maybe, I don't know, the route's not really going to it, but maybe Lily and Shizune can make up. I'm not really sure, but I really want that to happen. Peace.